Hello everyone and welcome back to the finals of the Grand Chester. This is game 2 of the Rapids. First game was won by Ding after that blunder by Levon, that rook to c7 idea. Now it's Levon with the white pieces and he definitely should equalize, otherwise if he doesn't, it's going to be much harder to get back into the blitz section of the match, since in blitz you only get 2 points for a win and in Rapid it's 4 points for a win. Without further ado, let's check it out. Levon with the white pieces opens with c4. The English opening is on the board. We have knight f6, knight to c3, and e5. Knight to f3 and knight to c6, the four knights of the English. We have d3 and d5 now. C captures, knight captures, and now e3. The so-called Capablanca variation, where the bishops will be developed to d2 and e2, with bishop to e7 and bishop to e2, preparing the castle. We have castles by black and bishop to d2. So you have this sort of a passive setup, but if it works, it works. And also Levon has to play something at least a little bit peculiar, as he needs to get a complicated position and try and win this game. We have bishop to e6 by Ding and now a3. With a5 stopping b4, and now there are games where rook to c1 or castles were played, but queen to c2 is a new move in the position, so already as of move 10 we have a completely new game. We have knight to b6 avoiding the trade, and now b3 taking away some very important squares from the black knight. We have f5 grabbing more space on the king side, and now bishop to c1. Here, Levon, before deciding where he's going to castle, wants to remaneuver this bishop over to this diagonal. We have bishop to f6. Ding also prepares to counter this bishop, adds additional protection to the e5 pawn, bishop to b2, and now even g5 by Ding. And this really discourages Levon from castling on the king side. So we have knight back to d2, not allowing the knight to remain a target, bishop back to g7, opening up the f file for the rook, and just h3. We have queen to e7, developing the queen, connecting rooks, and now g4. Still waiting to see what Ding's plans are on the king side. Here he plays f4, planning to open up the center with f captures on e3, but now just knight d to e4. Offering this f captures on e3, but for the moment the Ding just waits. He goes knight to d5, and here finally Levon decides to castle queenside. And of course it's castles of opposite sides. We're gonna have a nice race who can attack quicker where. And here it seems like you could go for this pawn, but even if you do, for example, captures, white will not recapture immediately. First you just remove one of the attackers of the e3 square, and only after bishop recaptures now you captures here. And while you are able to mess up white's pawn structure here, it doesn't really matter, because those are very useful squares for white, and white will not have any problems here. So instead we have a4 by Ding. Just attacking on the queen side. You do want to open up the a file as soon as possible. b4, and now why Ding decided for this line, we have knight d captures on b4. So a nice knight sacrifice, which gives him a lot of play, and it's not really all that big of a sacrifice, since he does grab two very important pawns for the piece. So a captures, and now before recapturing, first a3. Pushing the bishop further back, bishop to a1, and now knight captures on b4 with an attack on the queen. Queen to b1, and now even f3. So making the bishop really a useless piece, with bishop to f1, disconnecting Levon's rooks, and now rook to a6, preparing rook to b6 or c6, depending on what Levon plays, as the queen and king are so inconveniently placed on b1 and c1. And here, Levon goes for, he maybe should just start running away with his king somewhere, but he tries knight captures on g5, which is interesting. If the queen actually captures, you can eliminate the b4 knight, and with the b4 knight out of the way, you should be okay. But here, instead of just capturing, Ding plays a2. There was even a more powerful idea, just knight to a2 with check. It's really strong because after knight captures, you've freed the b file for your rook. You go rook b6, attack the queen, and after the queen moves, now bishop to b3, and now white completely falls apart. You don't have a good square for your queen. If queen c3, just rook to c6 wins the queen. If you move the queen to b1, you just pick up the rook, open up a discovery to the queen. There really are no good moves here. If you move the queen, just queen captures on g5. Now you've grabbed the piece, and you just have a much better position without actually sacrificing anything. So, knight to a2, also a very nice move, but okay, Ding has a different idea. Ding goes for a2, attacks the queen, queen to b2, and now rook to b6. Now threatening some very nice discoveries, like knight captures on d3. So, first we have knight captures on e6. Asking, well, now, it wouldn't be all that big of a deal if knight captures on d3, it would just be giving up too much material. So first, Ding recaptures on e6, and now queen to a3, getting the queen out of the way. We have rook to d8, as Levon wiggled out now a bit out of the position, but Ding brings another piece into the attack, and now Levon plays rook to d2. He wants to bring the rook over here, just to help out with all this attack on the queen side, but for the moment the d3 pawn is under attack, so you might want to just hide your king. However, this doesn't work. Here, Ding missed his opportunity for a very nice idea, but you know, you are comfortable in your home, you know, or in a bar or in a library, so feel free to pause the video and try to find the move that Ding missed here, while I give you a couple of seconds. For those of you who were able to do it, congratulations on finding a move this time with the bishop back. And for those of you who just want to enjoy the show, it's bishop to f8. Just aligns the bishop with the queen here, and now you're threatening knight captures on d3, where the bishop will just pick up the queen. So you don't have a good reply to this. If you move the king, so knight d3 doesn't come with check, you still do it, as the queen is under attack, and once the queen moves, now you capture on f2 with check. The rook cannot capture because it's pinned, you have to move the king. Now you play queen captures on a2, you eliminate the queen, and after rook captures, you're also going to pick up the knight here, and you just enjoy this position being up the exchange, but also with a very strong passed f-pawn. And even though rook h2 seems very ugly, just f2 check, king moves, knight g3 check, king captures, knight captures, king captures, and now you are up a pawn, up the exchange, of course, in a completely winning game. So, bishop to f8 deadly, but Ding doesn't want to invest too much time in the position, as it is a rapid game. He plays c5 first, and now again Levon is able to wiggle out a little bit. We have knight to e4, and now comes bishop to f8. Now bishop to f8 is not as potent, because just queen to a4 gets the queen out of this diagonal, and you don't have any good discovery. So here the game continues, and Levon's position is playable, but very hard. It is a rapid game. You're low on time. You're getting attacked. So it would still be very dangerous. But here Levon played queen to c3, and it is perhaps the worst move in the position. So feel free once again to pause the video and try to figure out why this is the worst move in the position, while I give you a couple of seconds. For those of you who were able to do it, congratulations on finding such a well, a nice refutation to this terrible move. And for those of you who just want to enjoy the show, it's knight to d5. That's the point. You just move the knight with a discovery on the queen, and rook to b1 check is coming next. And there really isn't a good reply here. If queen c4 or something allowing the king to move, you still just go rook b1 check, king moves, and rook captures on a1. You grab a piece. Next you're going to play rook to c1 check, bring another queen into the game. There's not much white can do here. So here Levon played queen to c2, prepared to give up his queen. Ding of course said, okay, I will grab your queen. Queen captures, pawn captures with check, king captures queen, and now knight to b4. Levon, well, both players continue the game, not because Levon thinks that he can survive this, but maybe maybe he's contemplating what he's going to do in the blitz section of the match. Just maybe. Or maybe not, he could have done the same if the game just ended, but who knows. The point is, the game continued, even though black is completely winning here. Black is up a queen. We have queen to b3 with check, bishop to b2, and now rook to a8, preparing to bring the rook over to a2. We have knight to c3, preventing that, but now e4. We have g6 by Levon, bishop to g7, and now d4. Captures on c4, e captures on d4, and now comes bishop captures on d4, and it was in this position on move 39 that Levon Aronian resigned the game, as there is nothing more to be done here. You are down a queen, and of course if the bishop is captured, just queen to c2 is mate. as the rook controls the h file. So that's the game. I do hope you enjoyed it. Levon most definitely did not, and this brings him down to 8 points. So as a win in the rapid section is worth 4 points, Levon is now down 8 points in the match, and if he wants to equalize the match and go into tie breaks, he's going to have to win all the blitz games. So as blitz games are 2 points per game, you have to win all 4 to equalize now with Ding, and that's just, well, very unlikely, but who knows, anything can happen. So once again, I do hope you enjoyed it. I would like to thank Prakash Sekar, Mario Encinosa, and Polak Shlomo for your contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot, I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you soon, continuing the coverage of this very nice tournament, checking up on your very nice suggestions, and of course, continuing the next big saga. Thank you all, I will see you soon, and have an excellent rest of your day.